The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
So I'm sure everybody remembers the story of the 11-year-old killing the 8-year-old with a shotgun because she wouldn't let him play with her puppies. And just to recap, it was with a shotgun. The boy made sure the shotgun was loaded. The boy knew how to use these weapons, was trained by his parents in gun safety rules and all of this. Well, I mean, all of the gun safety in the world, training and responsible gun training won't help you if you are a sociopath or if you just really want to kill someone with a gun. So I guess there was really no negligence here on behalf of the kid. I would say the negligence probably falls on the parents. But
the kid was found guilty, and we'll talk about what is going to happen to him now. I don't understand how, I mean, an 11-year-old can't legally possess a shotgun, right? So how could we say that the parents aren't responsible here? The parents did not do with the shotgun what needed to be done to prevent the 11-year-old from gaining access to it, yet somehow we've determined the 11-year-old is guilty of murder. And Lewis, I mean, you'll tell us, he's not going to adult prison. We're not even really sure where he is going at this point.
Was found guilty of first-degree murder, sentenced to custody, put that in quotes, until he turns 19. What does that mean? They're trying to determine where he's being sent. There's evaluation happening.
They're at least using the terms treatment and rehabilitation, right? I mean, I guess we're at least not so far gone that it's already being written off that this kid can never be a part of society. They're at least talking about treatment and rehabilitation. And I guess that's the silver lining. Although, again, I just do not understand how there is no adult liability here when an 11-year-old gets a gun and commits a crime where some adult was responsible for that gun.
Well, the kid was 11. And I think there's certainly, the parents are guilty of many things here. But it might not be keeping the gun locked in a safe place, right? I mean, if the kid knows that there's a key, the kid is probably going to be able to get his hands on that key no matter what.
But isn't it the responsibility of the parents to say, okay, if the kid knows where the key is, then we need to get a safe with a code, and we just won't tell the kid the code. I mean, the kid's not a safe, he's not a safe cracker.
You trust your children, right?
Yeah, all right.
And the kid was 11. I mean, this is not
not a 6-year-old.
Not a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And if there's a code, if it's one of those safes types of, if the gun, maybe the gun wasn't even in a safe.
I think that's probably the truth.
That's probably the case. But anyway, I think that if I had to guess, I would say that this is a bad apple. I think by 11, you probably have a pretty good understanding that you can't just go around killing people.
My sister's 11 right now, and there would be no talking her into the idea of killing someone. And yes, I mean, it's not a normal thought at the point of being 11 that you would have. You know right from wrong to a certain extent. So there are more factors, but who knows if the factors are that the kid was abused by the parents, and this has traumatized him in a way where he sees using guns for resolving problems as a reasonable thing. I mean, we really just cannot say. And the real question is, okay, he's 11 and he's going to be in custody until age 18. At what point will it be figured out where he goes, and how will he be rehabilitated? What is the future life for this child, for this individual 11-year-old?
Yeah, I don't see it getting much better.
You're not optimistic?
Not optimistic, no. Maybe we haven't heard the last of 11-year-old shotgun murderer.
Now, some people are saying, why would an 11-year-old be trained in hunting? He goes hunting with his father. He's trained in firearm safety. It's just too early to be exposing kids to guns. The NRA types would say, no. The earlier you expose kids to guns, the better trained they will be, and the less likely it is that you will have one of these incidents. Obviously, it's pretty unlikely that a kid will shoot anybody if they don't have access to guns at all also. So I think we can't discount that reality.
Yeah. I mean, even whether or not you own a gun, aren't children constantly being exposed to guns anyway? On TV, in video games,
sure,
in movies.
That doesn't mean that they have access to real guns. I mean, I watched all sorts of movies and played video games, and when I was 11 or 12 maybe, I started getting into games like Doom and Wolfenstein, right, where there were guns. I had no access to guns. I didn't really know people who had guns, or if they did. I mean, I can think of a couple friends where I kind of knew that the parents had guns, but they were locked up. Wouldn't even have been able to access them if I tried. that alone, I mean, being exposed to guns in the media doesn't give you access to nor the desire to actually go shoot people.
Not access to guns, but you are aware of guns. You know what they can do. You know what they are capable of. Where am I going with this? I kind of lost my train of thought.
Great.
But anyway, we're all exposed to guns. We all know how dangerous they are. We all know what they can do. So I guess it's a different type of exposure when you have a gun and when you're bringing your kid out and showing the kid. But maybe that is a better thing. I mean, maybe if you are going to have guns in the house, maybe that is the better technique.
Yeah.
To have the kid use this gun and to make sure they know. Maybe not.
Didn't work out here, that's for sure.
Didn't work out here. Let's move on. Twitter has formed a Trust and Safety Council. And what is this all about? Well, it's about battling online harassment and abuse, which seems like a pretty daunting task if you're talking about all of Twitter.
Yeah.
So what will this really... They say the point is to protect the users. I don't see how this is even possible, but this is how they're going about it. So the council will help the social media platform act quickly on matters of abuse, harassment, bullying, mental health, and suicide prevention. Patricia Karts, the outreach head, wrote that the group is comprised of more than 40 organizations and experts, including Feminist Frequency, GLAAD, and the National Domestic Violence Hotline. With hundreds of millions of tweets sent per day, the volume of content on Twitter is massive, which makes it extraordinarily complex to strike the right balance between fighting abuse and speaking truth to power, she wrote. A spokesman for Twitter reached by the Huffington Post was not able to elaborate on any changes users might expect from the update. There's stuff here about Brianna Wu,
Who we interviewed.
Yeah, and is this... Okay, the suicide prevention thing, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Absolutely.
But how can you possibly combat online harassment?
You
right?
know,
Is there even a point?
There's, well, I mean, yeah, there's a point to talking about it, I guess, but we know when you have these online communities where there are just so many comments all the time, you need to have a way, if you really want to try to manage this, for people to report threats or insults, comments, whatever, right? And when you do that, you get tons of false positive. This has happened to us a couple times where we just posted clips that were, you know, about certainly very adult issues, right? Whether it's abortion or whatever, to our Facebook page. And there were just links to clips from the show. And people reported them to Facebook as offensive posts. And really all they were links to our YouTube videos. Any system that allows sort of self-policing is going to be subject to abuse. And we've been sort of on the receiving end of that in a negative way. But at the same time, how could you have an organization where the staff to user ratio is so exponentially tiny? Do you use an algorithm? Well, algorithms will absolutely have false positives. I really don't know how you do it, but I guess they should be commended for trying. Is that what we should say?
I suppose. And what are the repercussions? If you find someone is guilty of harassment, bullying, whatever, do you suspend their account?
Probably. That happens all the time.
They can make a new one pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it just seems like something that's impossible to manage. But I'm not against this. I mean, I just think that it might be more of a PR thing than actual something practical that can be done about the insane amount of online harassment and bullying and all of that. Anyway.
Have you ever been the subject of online harassment?
Well, probably.
On a daily basis, really. If you look at our YouTube channel.
Yeah. I mean, do I care? No, I don't even... I'm not even aware of probably 90% of the comments being made that are harassing or bullying or
I mean,
insulting.
with 2,000 comments a day on our YouTube channel, we can only look at like a fraction of the comments to get a sense of what people are thinking. That fraction is pretty offensive generally and contains all sorts of insults about us as individuals. So I can only assume that it's a representative sample of the totality of those 2,000 YouTube comments a day.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we are people who are just expecting this type of thing. I'm trying to think who is it that is really, really adversely affected by online bullying and harassment?
I mean, it's the individuals, right? The person who
But
is targeted.
we're individuals.
Well, I mean, the individuals that are not connected to any kind of a public online presence. You have a Facebook page, and your classmates start sending you harassing messages or something like that, or someone who has a public presence takes a video posted to Facebook meant to be sort of for their friends only, and does a video about it on YouTube slamming them, and then it sort of goes viral, and the person is completely unprepared for that level of attention or scrutiny. That type of thing is what comes to mind to me.
Yeah, certainly some people are more susceptible than others, just in general, to insults and all of that. All right. Michigan making headlines again. Maybe this is good, maybe this is bad, maybe we don't really know what this will do, although according to this article, this is going to be completely safe. And I'm talking about using biopesticides to fight lampreys because they are incredibly invasive and are a huge problem. Okay, so these are called biopesticides because they are supposed to be naturally occurring components. Baking soda, I guess, is for certain applications, a biopesticide. Canola oil in certain uses is a biopesticide. And what are the particular ones they're going to be using here? I don't know. But what will they do? For example, they will be used to basically round up lampreys. So what you want to do is you want to use biopesticides to drive them to certain areas or drive them out of certain areas so that you can capture and or kill them in large numbers.
Now, for people who don't know, why are people trying to kill lampreys, right? I mean, a lot of people may not be aware of that.
Well, it's an invasive species, and they think that it's harming whatever ecosystem it's part of.
And
in these
killing
lakes.
a ton of fish.
Yeah, eating a ton of fish, and it's a problem. And so I guess what they're trying to do here is trick the lampreys into thinking that using pheromones,
right,
or something that to them smells like pheromones, to trick them into heading to a certain area and moving out. So if they can mimic the smell of blood from an injured lamprey, that is something they could use to drive lampreys out of a certain area. If they mimic the pheromones given off by certain lamprey
that want to mate,
they can attract lampreys to certain positions.
Right.
And this is what is going to, now the reason they are using these biopesticides is because the belief is that in some cases these are used actually to kill certain things or to stop body processes of certain things. In this case, I guess they're trying to avoid that altogether. But biopesticides can be used in those cases too. And in those cases, the idea is that it will target only that invasive species or whatever that you're trying to get rid of, and everything else in that ecosystem will remain unharmed.
And there is precedent for this with insects. Biopesticides and pheromones have been used to deal with insect populations in the past. Whenever I hear pheromones, though, you remember when in any magazine you would get, if you looked at the back at the classified ads, there'd be all these little ads for pheromones you could buy, which would make the opposite sex completely unable to resist you, right? And the whole thing was, and maybe this is still a thing and I just don't look at those magazines anymore. Like I used to have subscriptions to a lot of sports magazines and general interest magazines, and then some of the ones like Maxim, etc., where at the back, the classifieds, there would just be all sorts of bogus products advertised. And they would say, you take your regular perfume and you mix in these pheromones, and they've been crafted so that if you're a man, heterosexual women will be just unable to resist you. It's been mostly debunked, right? I mean, I don't deny that there is probably some physical response that is conditioned in humans based on what are supposed pheromones. But the idea that you can mix something in with your shampoo or your perfume, and all of a sudden women are going to be crawling all over you if you're otherwise not an appealing person, it's completely ludicrous, isn't it?
Yeah, pheromones are very real, but these products, I think people, since I haven't seen anything about it in probably as long as you have.
But in your testing of them, have they worked for you?
Yeah. I never bought any of this crap, of course. I think that, I don't know. I don't read those magazines either. Maybe it is still a thing. Maybe there are people in the audience that have experimented with this stuff. And
What's more effective, pheromones to attract mates as humans, or homeopathy? That would be an interesting investigation.
Yeah. Or just taking your clothing off and then running around beating your chest or something.
Yeah.
What works best?
That'll attract police more than possible mates, I think.
Yeah. You might get lucky, though, and find that police officer
is very attracted to you.
Is an appropriate mate.
Right.
Okay. Don't risk it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.